Hello, mission-driven moms, and happy 4th of July. I want to tell you a story that really changed my life many years ago that has to do with the 4th of July. I don't know if you've ever heard about a couple named Abraham and Sarah Clark, not from the Bible, from the Revolutionary period. They're an incredible couple, and what they did is mission-driven, very amazing. So they were married in 1748, and they had 10 children. And Sarah was known to be very organized, very hardworking, and very industrious. And because she was, that allowed Abraham to be involved politically for decades and to give service inside his home and outside of his home because of how hard she worked to support him in that. He was a man of prayer. He was friends with Dr. Witherspoon, and they were both reputed to always act on Christian principles and have a deep sense of their responsibility to God. He was known as the poor man's counselor. He had studied law on his own, probably never passed the bar, but people would often ask for his legal advice, and he would never allow them to pay him. He would take them in and listen to their situation and give them really good counsel and not ask for payment. And so that made him very popular among the poor. He was probably, of all the men in the early Continental Congress, the one that was most like a typical citizen. He wouldn't wear a wig. He didn't like elitism and pretense. And so he just acted like an ordinary man when he was acting in political positions. So he is representing New Jersey when the Continental Congress comes together and decides to write the Declaration of Independence, and he's present in those meetings and he's supportive of that. And then it's written and they sign it, and he signs his name to it. And remember, at the end of the Declaration of Independence, it says their lives and they give their lives and they pledge their lives and their sacred honor to each other for this document. And these men took that very seriously. They knew that because they had signed it, that the British would target them specifically, that they would try to kill or harm or injure them specifically because they were the ones who were the leaders in America who had written this document and started the war. Well, helped the country participate in the war. England, it's disputable who started it. So he writes this letter to his friend and he says, "You've probably seen the Declaration of Independence that came out a few days ago." He says, "A few weeks will probably determine our fate, perfect freedom or absolute slavery. Our fates are in the hands of an almighty God to whom I can with pleasure confide my own. He can save us or destroy us. His counsels are fixed and cannot be disappointed, and all his designs will be accomplished." Here was a man of perfect faith, a man who had a great relationship with God and tried to be obedient to him, who lived his life in line with true principles, who had an amazing self-education, lived those laws of life mission, and had done life mission for decades at this point, had served publicly, served the poor, and served in political capacities, usually not being paid for that. So the war begins, and he has these 10 children, and of course he has sons. And one of them is an officer, and another one is just a privateer in the army. Well, of course, they know who Abraham Clark is. They pinpoint his sons, they capture his sons, and they make them prisoners on the ship Jersey, the British ship Jersey. And they write to Abraham and Sarah Clark, and they tell them, "We have your sons, and we're going to starve them to death until you take back your signature and you join the side of the British on the war, in the war." Now, we're moms, and so we know that we would rather have them just take our life than to torture or kill our children. And that's exactly how Abraham and Sarah felt. So they wrote back and they said, I'll take me. Abraham said, "Just take me in place of my sons. You can make me a prisoner, torture me, do whatever you want with me." They say, "Nope, We have your sons. We're going to starve them to death in this ship. So Abraham and Sarah come back together, counsel together, pray together. And they know that they can't abandon their country, that they can't abandon their principles, that they can't abandon what they know to be true, and they can't do major harm to the effort of freedom by changing sides, by recanting their signature. And so he has to write back that no, he will not take his signature back, and no, he will not join the side of the British. And he knows what that means. Now, one step further than that, Abraham doesn't believe that any person should use their political position to take advantage, take privileges for themselves or for their family. So he doesn't even tell the other congressmen that this is happening. Finally, it comes out. They're able to intervene. Eventually, they make a trade of officers. One of his sons, it says, was confined to a dungeon, and the only food given him was that which was pressed through a keyhole of the cell. His health suffered tremendously, and he died young. Didn't die in the war, but he died young after the war. This couple represent to me absolute, complete, mission-driven lives. They represent the best that we should strive to be. They weren't perfect, but they were committed to truth, and they were committed to freedom and to the cause. And I want to tell you this story this week of the 4th of July, because this week and this month is an opportunity for us to go back to our roots. There are many, many men and women who were truly and completely mission-driven at the time of America's founding. They were public servants, and they put the needs of their nation and their communities above their own. They were truly patriots, and more than that, they were committed to what was going to create the greater good. They didn't put their own desires above the greater good. And I really think that in today's world, with our iPhones and our quick access to information and our wealth, it's so easy for us to make it all about us. It's so easy to forget what's most important. So I challenge you to take the time to read through some of the stories of the founders of America, to share them with your family, to think about the missions that they were on, to think about the incredible blessings and benefits that you enjoy every single day because of the missions that they fulfilled. And then take that a step further and imagine what legacy you could leave, what sacrifices you could make, how you and your family could build a culture of being mission-driven, how you could sacrifice for the greater good, how you could serve outside yourselves and really make a difference, and be a little bit like the Ten Booms and a little bit like Abraham and Sarah Clark. The year that I studied these stories in depth changed my outlook on life forever. And their story was a major turning point in recognizing what it is that I've been given and what it is I owe to myself and my family and to the world, and especially to God, because of what I've been given. So have a wonderful 4th of July. Think about Abraham and Sarah Clark. Share this story with your family and with your friends, because it will bless them and inspire them to also be the best that they can be, to also get on that mission path and live those laws of life mission and hear the call that God has for them. Thanks for watching.